Welcome, everyone. Today is December 22nd, and it is 6:30 p.m. This is the Acushnet Planning Board. This meeting is being recorded for the Acushnet YouTube channel and live on Zoom. If I could get everybody to please silence their phones so we don't get all kinds of noise. Can I get a motion to open the meeting?
Motion to open.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have a quorum tonight. Can I get everybody to introduce themselves?
Steve Boucher, member.
Dave DeVignan, member.
Mark Francois, Chairman.
Rick Ellis, Vice Chairman.
Ryan Dishamps, member.
We are here tonight to review of a solar special permit for 550 Main Street, to discuss possible violations to the special permit and stormwater issues. The way that this meeting is going to go tonight is the board is going to have a discussion amongst ourselves of issues that have arisen. Pat Hannon, the stormwater agent and Board of Health assistant agent, I think it is, will also feed into what he knows. At the end of our discussion, we will allow Nevison or whoever would like to represent to get up and make a statement. Tonight is not a public meeting. We will not be going back and forth with questions and answers. That will be for a later date. Okay. Dave, would you like to start us off?
Do you want to start with that?
Yeah, we can start off. Pat, you want to start us off?
Why are we all here? Why did you get us all here?
Nope, you're muted.
Oh,
You're muted.
we see the little mute symbol on your, there you go.
There we go.
There you go.
It's because you all great volunteers for the town. So, on the evening of December 7th, we had a rainstorm. Stormwater and a large volume of stormwater came off the project at 550 Main Navison solar project. And it went on to 582 Main Street. And it flooded their backyard and compromised their well. They have a dug well, they don't have a drilled well. They penetrated the cover of the well. And I got a call from my supervisor, Joe Correa, of the Board of Health, on the 8th, telling me that we needed to get out there and have the well tested and see if there was any contamination from the stormwater. We made arrangements with Bates, the contractor, to give the laboratory a credit card to pay for the test they did. The laboratory took the test on either the 8th or the 9th. Shortly after that, there was a discussion about the solar project, getting these folks hooked up to town water. Unbeknownst to myself, almost everyone out there was on town water because of the BNF landfill. And it wasn't going to be feasible to drill wells to the property with the groundwater contamination.
Excuse me, Pat, I hate to interrupt you, but we're having a hard time hearing you. Could you speak up a little louder, please?
How about now?
It's
No
very
difference.
similar. Nick, is there any way we can turn up the volume in here? Just 1 second, Pat.
All right.
All right.
I have a separate mic there, so it should work.
Can you hold your microphone a little closer to your mouth?
It's right under my chin.
I think that's a little better.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's a little better, thank you.
I'll talk louder too. So we had the well tested, Bates paid for it. It took about 6 days to get the results back. And immediately after the well was tested, there was a discussion started about the solar project, hooking these folks up to the town water at the project expense. And about a week ago, it looked like it was heading that way. And after I thought that I had a commitment, I found out that the engineer for the project was at the conservation office looking for the well results. And that was a signal to me that they were going to challenge whether or not they contaminated the well or there was already something wrong with it. So myself and Joe and Dan from DPW and Dave and Bob Hinckley all got involved in this and went out there on a Sunday morning, looked at it. Everybody decided that it's pretty obvious the stormwater came from that project. They cleared 19 acres of trees and there's not a thing to stop the water. So it took an order from the Board of Health to get the project to even begin to react to the impact that they had on the residents. These people went from the 8th until today with no water. And it wasn't until maybe a day or 2 days ago that Navasant even dropped off some water at their house or even offered their help. They didn't offer until the Board of Health ordered it. And they've been trying to kind of just wish away the violation. I don't have a nicer way to put it. I certainly have a worse way of putting it. But they don't want to claim responsibility. I understand that companies don't want bad news and bad press, but they did it. The project shouldn't even be operating. If you look at their submittals to the they're now submittals to the Conservation Commission. The bigger problem for me is that this project never went through Conservation. Conservation Commission never got to look at the plan. The agent signed off on it without it going to Conservation. So when I did get the plan, I just see that things weren't constructed in accordance with the plan. Things aren't being done in accordance with the plan. Some of the permits aren't even are in the name of a company that's not even registered to do business in Massachusetts. Navasant U.S. Development LLC is a Delaware corporation. All the stormwater permits are in that company's name, and the stormwater team for the site works for that company. But that company's not registered to do business in that. Then there's issues about the size of the field. Is it 1 megawatt? Is it 2 megawatts? The documents they provided just the other day show that the trees were not to be cut down after October 31st. And they started clearing the land the first week in November in violation of the wrong work plan. And they weren't supposed to cut the trees because you can't stabilize 19 acres of hard ground in the winter and meet the post-development stormwater requirements. This is just like, having rain on the bowling alley. And I didn't do the calculation big, but I don't know what 1 inch of rain over 19 acres of impervious area is, but it's a substantial amount of stormwater. And the systems here aren't designed to hold it. If I can share my screen for a minute. You see that plan?
No, there it is.
Yes,
Okay, can you see my
yes.
cursor move on? So the plan they gave us showed a new basin that they added here to collect stormwater. So we ordered them not to let any stormwater off of this site until they can fix the problem. And that's a pretty tall order for the amount of land they have open. So they added a basin here. And this basin is supposed to hold the water, and we don't see any connection, but we imagine it's intended to connect to this basin after all the silt settles out of the water and the new basin they built. Because right now, everything that comes off the site hasn't been treated and is full of sediment and high in suspended solids. But when I went to inspect the work that they wanted to start, and they were asking me to approve so they could get going, I found that they already did it. And I don't know why they were sending me emails asking me to approve something that they already did in violation of their cease and desist order. But I noticed that this basin, that they've actually cut a hole through the berm to let the water out of the basin here into the woods. And we looked at this at the internal meeting, if you remember, Mark.
Yeah,
And you folks saw the picture of it?
yes.
Yeah. So, the thick black line here is a cutoff trench. that's supposed to bring stormwater down to this basin. But when I was there 2 days ago, this cutoff trench was already full of water, and it wasn't raining. And Joe and I think that they're already into groundwater. And there were perk tests on here before this job started that Board of Health witnessed. And groundwater was at 30 inches when it was forested. And Joe's estimate of dumping and clearing and rubbing and all of that was at least a foot off of the surface. And groundwater is, not far below where they are. When the violation happened, I asked them if they had cut more than they were supposed to from the grade. They said they were doing a topo, they had a drone out there doing a topo, but they've never sent me that topo. And I can just imagine that it doesn't go their way. That's all I can imagine is the reason I didn't get it. So Conservation has a piece of this out there, and so stormwater can be approved and handled and treated. Conservation requiring them to file a notice of intent after the fact. And then the Board of Health has 3 orders. One to supply potable water, one to stop the discharge of untreated stormwater, and I can't remember what the other one is. And that's where we're at. So now, as we went through the planning board files the other day, we see this conflicting information between what is the job and what's in town hall files. And I think they're in violation of their special permit. The special permit says that they shouldn't cut trees after October 31st. And there's confusion over, what companies are really doing this job, or they're approved to do business in Massachusetts. And it took, 12 days for them to come forward and even offer water to the people that had their well blown up. And to me, that's just not a team player working in town.
Okay. But that, that pipe has been fixed, correct? That person does have water now?
He is disconnected from his well and is on town water.
Okay. All right, thank you, Pat. Dave?
Yeah, so I went to the site on Sunday, this past Sunday, 10 o'clock in the morning. I met Joe Correa, health agent, Pat Hannon, stormwater agent. Bob Hinckley was there, he's board of selectman, and we met with the property owners. We walked in the backyard, observed the pond and the well, and then the pond is brown, clearly contaminated from silt runoff. You could follow the path of where the water came right up to the property, and you could follow where the water came out of the discharge pipe. They have a lower 8-inch pipe. My understanding is plugged now, but you can see all the silt in the trap rock. You could follow the path, anybody could figure that out. Then there's a larger 12-inch pipe. I think it's a little higher than the 8-inch pipe. And it's clear that everything came off site, included, it impacted the well and impacted the pond. Then that pond flows to another overflow pond further up on another neighboring property. My understanding is they complained, they put in a complaint. I'm not sure if it's to the Conservation Office or the Board of Health, but we have multiple neighbors that have this natural spring type pond in the backyard that was always clear, and it's brown. We walked onto the site, onto the berm. When I walked on the berm, fortunately I had boots on, watertight boots, but I was sinking into the mud like that. The whole top of the berm was soft. I didn't dare walk beyond that up onto the site. What I saw was it completely, clear cut. They did put a lot of erosion control barriers in stages going up the hill. And everything just runs right to the low spot at the corner of the property where it discharges and goes right into, these neighboring properties. So after that on-site, I then took the file, whole planning board file, which I got from Pat, and I went through the planning board file, and just looking through the special conditions of approval by the planning board, I think they're in violation of at least 3, if not 5. The key was what Pat said, is that when you look through the special conditions, they're not supposed to do any hydro seeding. First off, it says, after they clear cut it, hydro seeding shall occur within 30 days. But then the next condition, that was 16, I think, 17, says that it shouldn't be hydro seeded after November 1st or before May 1st. So when you put A and B together, they shouldn't have clear cut the property this late in the season, because you can't control the runoff. You can't get any vegetation going. So in my opinion, they're in clear violation of those 2 conditions. Condition number 18 talks about clearing shall be minimized. Now this is interesting, because originally the project was approved for 2 megawatt to clear whatever it is, 19, I don't know the number, 20 acres. And that was in 2016, the permit ran out in 2018. Then they reapplied later in 2018, and then got it reapproved. And then in 2021, the file has correspondence from Field Engineering, their stormwater representative, and their engineer representative, and said that Eversource only allowed them to do a 1 megawatt tie-in. So they were reducing the project in half. And there's further correspondence where which is more concerning to me, also is the decommissioning amount was originally agreed to $87,000 for the 2 megawatt. When they came back in with a request to amend the permit, they were basically asking the planning board chairman and the building inspector, do we have to go through the process, because we're gonna build half of what we got permitted. The answer from the chairman was, I don't think so, and the building commissioner was waiting to hear from him. And then they sort of both said, you don't have to go back to the planning board. Now, I wasn't on the planning board at that time, so I wouldn't have agreed to that. I think that's more of a board decision, not a unilateral decision by the chairman. I don't care who the chairman is. I think that's out of line. I don't think the building inspector, really, that was his call either, because the interesting thing is, 5 days later, after the building commissioner sent this email, and the email's in the file, he mentioned in the email, I assume, that the clear cutting will be cut in half correspondingly. But then when I took the 2 plans of what was approved and what came out later, 5 days after the building commissioner sent his email, the plan came out and showed a revised array layout. And it looks to me like they went cheap on revising the plan with the engineer, and they basically kept the whole clearing limits the same, the pond the same. They eliminated a second pond, and they just spread the array out throughout the 20 acres, which makes no sense to me. Why clear 20 if you only need 10 or 12? So I look at this plan that was submitted a few days ago, or whenever, it's got 5 revision dates, and some of them, they're recent, the last 6 weeks, so they're changing and modifying things as they go based on this. Then what's even more disturbing is when they asked for the 1 megawatt reduction, they asked for the decommissioning to be cut in half. So somehow there was a suggestion that the 87 be cut in half, but then it was raised up probably because Doug pushed for more escalators or whatever. So the decommissioning was raised up to 62.5, but that was for the 1 megawatt. But they cleared the area for 2 megawatt, and I've heard different stories here. That they want 1.48, or they think they're approved for 2. I don't know what the story is. I don't want to go back and forth tonight. All I know is there are clearly violations of the special permit. There's a lot of discrepancies between what is supposed to be built and what is approved to be built. There are discrepancies in plans, different plans everywhere. So I really think that something needs to happen a month from now with a public hearing, a butter notifications, and we come back here and we resolve everything, including the issues that are on site, which they are trying to resolve, whether the stormwater complies with the bylaws. Looks shaky out there right now, whether it's really gonna work, and what the final plan is, because all I see is no consistency throughout the file, no consistency throughout the permitting. I don't think the left hand knows what the right hand's doing as far as the town goes. But now we've got all the boards together, working together. I know there's a cease and desist by the Board of Health, there's a cease and desist by the Conservation Commission. I know that we, as a board, we've been told that we cannot issue a cease and desist, it has to come from the building commissioner. So in my opinion, we should be voting to send a letter to the building commissioner urging him to put a cease and desist on the building permit and have them come back to us. Because there's just way too many questions out here. This is not a straightforward, they went out there and did some corrections. There's a lot of questions here. That's where I stand on the matter.
I mean, I went out there this afternoon around 3:30 and met with the super, had a conversation. It's quite a bit. Again, I can't judge how many acres are actually cleared out there, but looking at the topographical situation out over there and the size of the retention pond, I question if that's going to be sufficient going forward. Okay, they're doing a lot of work. They're laying out straw. They blocked off the pipes. The work is going on right now. Not so much with the project, but to stabilize the erosion, from what I can see. Again, not an engineer. I don't know. I had a conversation with Pat the other day. They typically take this stuff and run it through a peer review to see if that this is ample. So I don't know if the engineering for the drainage is ample for that site at this point. And again, like Dave said, you can't. How do you stabilize property this time of year? They're doing their best right now, correcting the situation. They're doing corrective action. Is it sufficient? I couldn't tell you, but I do know they were out there diligently making an effort to do it. Is it the right solution, or is it the full solution, I should say, maybe? Obviously I can't comment on that. It may all work, but something has to be done, and I would definitely recommend that that between the Board of Health and the Conservation, they uphold till this is corrected, till everybody's satisfied with the stabilization of the soils there. Until this is, and I don't think that's asking for too much. I think that obviously the erosion is what became the issue. This is what rose all this issue was, the erosion stuff. Understand it's construction, things happen. They're doing corrective action right about now. However, like Dave said, you flip through the files, there's a lot of changing back and forth, some stuff is unclear. Again, 2 megawatt, 1 megawatt, the process in between, how it went from a 2 to 1 without coming in front of the planning board. That's a little, in itself, as he said, is a little disturbing. However, I think the damage is done, okay, and it needs to be rectified, and recommend that it doesn't move any more forward, that continue with the cease and desist, hopefully from them, as far as moving forward with the construction. Continue, rectify the erosion issues until it meets satisfaction. We don't want to, the property owner is on the hook for some of this stuff, I'm sure. The contractor, the developer, everybody. And the only thing that was the biggest disturbing thing to this was the latent action with supplying those people with water, regardless of what happened, how it happened. The pictures I saw, basically, yeah, there was some issues there, and the runoff, basically, it just blew it up, so to speak. And it all come from, which all resulted from this project, so, but it did get corrected at this point, and I hope this doesn't happen again. I just think recommendations to the authorities, the stormwater and building department, that we get this issue corrected before the actual solar array goes in, so we know that what's there is going to stay there. It's going to be more difficult to correct if you've got all these panels, all these frames going in there, and you got to regrade something to make this thing work. Is the fear of all of this.
Any questions?
I feel to me, what I see is the problem. We had an issue similar to this on Wing Lane, with the Wing Lane solar project. And the board issued a cease and desist, and again, like the chairman said, we were promptly told we do not have that authority. I mean, the authority to police the erosion, to make sure that the project complies with the original issuance of the special permit and the plans that were originally signed by the planning board. We've been told, for better or for worse, it lies with the building inspector. And, you know, certainly, I mean, there are certainly erosion problems there that are not just going to take one thing to solve the problem. That site is going to be opened up for the next several months. And every time it rains, there's going to have to be corrective actions taken to keep erosion from leaving the site, which was the original promise to the planning board, if you will, and reflected by the special conditions. There's been some discussion tonight about how big is the prime project. Good question. I don't know. The only plan that the board, and I don't expect it to be addressed tonight, you know, the only plan that the board ever approved was the original 2-megawatt plan with the 2 drainage basins, and that the stormwater management people were satisfied with at the time. Whatever has been done out there is obviously not working. And it is up to the proponent to figure out what to do to keep silt from running off the site onto other people's properties. I mean, and I don't know that the planning board has the proper enforcement ability to make that happen. But in my own view, the more cooperative and the more quickly these problems are taken care of, it makes it easier for me to look at it and say, well, you know, they had a project that was 20 acres. They told us at some point, maybe not you people, but we were told that the project was going to be cut in half. Well, if it was originally 20 acres of clearing, then it should be 10 acres of clearing. I don't know what's out there. To me, it looks not that much different from the original 2-megawatt proposal that we saw. Again, it's the proponent's responsibility to control the sediment and the runoff from that site. It was the original proposal that the 2 detention ponds and whatever was on that original plan was going to be sufficient. That wasn't even built. I mean, there weren't 2 ponds built originally. There was nothing that went to the building inspector. There was nothing that went to the stormwater management section. There was nothing that went to the Board of Health that said how big the project was going to be and that the 1 basin that was built was going to take care of the situation. From my perspective, I'm just operating in a vacuum. And I do know that we do not have the authority to issue a cease and desist order, if you will. I think you've really got to make a great case to the building inspector why he shouldn't just stop the project completely until you guys go through the process all over again. That's where the enforcement authority starts. If he decides that what you are planning is not in conformance with the original special permit, now you're back in front of us to ask for a modification or to just go make the changes that need to be changed to put it in conformance. I'm sorry, I don't want to get away from it, but that's kind of my take on it, if you will.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Pat's waving his hand over there.
That's fine. Pat, we went through some of this, and in all due respect, on Wing Lane. You know, the contractor there, the contractor I mean, boulders in the detention ponds, you know, nothing done. The board said, you know, we issued a cease and desist, and we're told we shouldn't. From the communication with town council, in order to make the call whether the special permit hasn't been complied with, the building inspector's got to initiate that discussion.
I just wanted to follow up on a point you made about the 2 ponds. So when I went through their plan, I saw the 2 ponds. I called the superintendent from Cape, their subcontractor, and said, "Do you have a plan at the job that shows 2 ponds?" He said, "Nope, I've never seen a plan that shows 2 ponds." And this is the second time now that the Conservation Commission has a job going on where there's one set of plans at the planning board and another set of plans out at the job. So, you know,
I understand. And when they apply for a building permit, the building commissioner has to make that call. And, you know, there's been problems with maintaining a constant person in the building permit seat over the last few months. I understand that. We do not have the authority to stop the project. The building.
I'm just trying to give you the background.
I'm kind of going to the end of this, and I'm breaking the law about the conversation back and forth. I mean, in my own view, the person that opened the site up is responsible to take care of the sediment and the runoff. And if it's not being done, then they've got to be taken to task for it. And in my own view, and I'm not the building inspector, nothing should be happening until they can demonstrate that the adjacent properties aren't going to be damaged by silt and water runoff. And I don't care how many engineers, I don't care if it takes 20 ponds to do it. It's their responsibility to get it done. And unfortunately, where it is opened up now, it's their responsibility today to take care of it. And what little bit I know of geology, gravity and water are relentless. And every time a drop of rain comes down on that piece of land, it's going to generate an issue with runoff. And they have to come up with a proposal to take care of it quickly.
Mr. Chairman, can I make one point?
Yes.
The point I want to make here is that Navison, in their plans, in their stormwater pollution plans, have made themselves the project operators, and they have made Bates, the contractor, their sub. Navison employs a very qualified engineering company called Weston & Sampson. I use them myself. I'm familiar with the company. And they develop a plan, and they put it out, and Navison has not followed the advice of their engineers and has not followed the plans drafted by their engineers. And whatever was approved by the town and the town expects has not made its way to Bates. And this is the exact same contractor as Wayne Wainwright, Chris. And this is the exact same contractor for the next 5 solar fields in our town after this one. So before they started this job, I had them come to the office. And it was the engineer from Weston & Sampson, from Navison, and the manager of the field operations from Bates, Pat Mahan. And when we all sat down, they brought in all kinds of rolls of plans, and I said, before we look at the plans that you brought, I just want you to know that because of what happened at Wing Lane, whatever these plans say, you are going to have to do it. I am going to enforce it. So if there's anything you think you need to change, let's do this another day. And Pat Mahan said, yes, there are things that I need to change, having heard that statement. So they left, and I never got any amended plans. And, here we have a different set of plans out at the job, but when you look at the stormwater pollution prevention plan, Pat Mahan signed it, saying that he knows what that 187-page document says. But Navison's not enforcing it. It's their team that enforces all of those strict rules and does inspections. And there's a major disconnect, and as someone said, the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. And the contractor just wants to get in and get out. So, and I'm not asking you to issue a cease and desist. I just want you to know the facts when you talk to the building commissioner. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Pat. Brian, you have anything to add?
I haven't been out to the site, so it's hard for me to make a call.
Yep.
But I am in agreement with what I'm hearing right now from the other.
Okay.
I, based on what I've heard from Pat, I did take a look at the site today too. I mean, I would certainly make a recommendation to the building inspector that there not be a foundation or a piece of conduit that's put in that ground until they completely take care of the runoff of silt and water from the site and damage to adjacent properties. I think that's probably the strongest thing that I can think of at this time. And
Okay. I get your point. I also went out to the site today, took a look around, and Steve, you're right. They are out there working. There was 2 excavators going. There was some utes moving some dirt around. They are really trying to do what they can with 3 inches of water coming tonight. Whether it's approved, whether it's adequate, whether it's sufficient, I don't know. We'll see tomorrow.
We'll know shortly, yeah.
We are not here to vote or rule on what their issues are with conservation. They have their issues with conservation, they have their issues with stormwater, they have their issues with the Board of Health. That's something they're gonna have to deal with those departments. After listening to everything, and I was, at the office today, there are a lot of open questions in my book as well. The few things that Dave brought up regarding number 16 and 17 of the special permit, where hydroseeding was supposed to take place, clearing wasn't supposed to start, or mulching completed by November 1st. No hydroseeding occur after this date. Right there, there's a violation of 16 and 17. What also bothers me is there is correspondence from Field Engineering on August 21st, very, very plainly and simply stating that Eversource did not allow them to have a 2 megawatt field, that they wanted to reduce it to a 1 megawatt. They were asking for the sureties to bring brought down from 87 to 54. Don't ask me how it landed on 65, 250, but it did. So somewhere along the line, it went from 2 megawatt to 1 megawatt, and might not have been them. I'm under the, I was told that this has been sold twice, if not 3 times, since this has been done. This is either the second or the third owner of this site. So a lot of things have happened probably prior to them owning it, and not, they might have bought something that they thought was one thing when ultimately it might be turning out to be something else. That bothers me, that possibly 19 or 20 acres were cut when it possibly didn't need to be that. I need that answered. We do not have a set of signed plans at the planning board. I do not know why we do not have a set of signed plans at the
Couldn't
planning
tell you, we
board.
signed a ton of them. The original 2 acre ones.
Yeah.
Whatever they're building now, I have no clue.
This set of plans here, which I think was for the building.
That's building department.
Building department, which is dated 10/13/2021. That's the latest set of plans that I was able to find. These sets of plans specifically say 1 megawatt field. Now, like Dave said, did they just decide to go from 2 megawatts and leave the same amount of acreage open and just go from 9,000 panels to 4,000 panels in the same area? I don't know. but that's one of the things that bothers me. I think that there are enough questions that need to be answered, whether it's for conservation, Board of Health, or stormwater, which stormwater with conservation kind of works hand in hand with planning board. I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. I would like to take some time. You're absolutely right. I think they are 100% responsible to contain the water on that site. Nothing should happen until we know that the neighbors and nobody else will be affected by runoff. They, from what I gathered, they were good enough to eventually get around to take care of that one neighbor that needed water. I just feel that there's too many unanswered questions that we need a little bit more time to get answered. If nobody else on the board has any questions, I'm gonna...
The other thing I want to say is I did not walk up to the second pond that was built, and I hope what I was hearing is not accurate, that there's a big cutout. So basically the water's going to flow down the hill, go into that pond, and then go flood out another neighbor. I hope.
Did you go
I
out
hope
there and
that's not
see
what I'm
that
hearing,
that hole
because-
was full?
I did not, I didn't walk out, I was in my sneakers, I went late, but my plan was to literally go down there tomorrow.
I went there
Kinda work
today,
what's happening, so-
and the smaller pond to the left, the smaller pond had a big cutout in the middle of it.
discharging to the...
Discharging to the woods by the looks of it.
Because there's another house at the end of Scott's Way.
If you guys want to take a quick look, these are the excavators that were working there today, the Ukes. They're working on the lower pond. This is the lower pond. That's the berm that they were building. They do have stones there. They did have a rolling compactor trying to compact the top of it. That's the wattle that they put. You can see that they put hay on the entire site. I walked behind. They did try to reinforce the back of the berm with stone. I did see that. But that's the first basin, and that's the hole in that basin. So when that basin fills up, it's going to run out into the woods. And who knows where that's going to end up going down into somebody's backyard.
Totally understand. I mean, my hope would be, and then this is, if I had a Christmas present to ask for, is that Navison would start cooperating and correcting quickly with the stormwater people, with the Board of Health. And quite frankly, I mean, after every rainstorm, there needs to be an inspection down there. And I mean, every single one. And if there are problems, then they need to be addressed, not like 2 months later after a board meeting, right away. That's a construction operation. A number of years ago, I had the opportunity to work on a site that was opened up that had some severe erosion problems. And the local police showed up and escorted the contractor off the site and basically made sure the equipment wasn't going to work anymore until things were corrected. I would hope that it doesn't get anywhere near that. It's that take care of Pat's concerns, take care of the Board of Health concerns, convince the building inspector that he should continue to let the project to move forward at any size until, you know, the special permit considerations are either taken care of or he determines that there's no reason to go back. You got to work with those 3 people in town quickly and get those issues resolved. I mean, if we get involved in public hearings and amendments to the special permit, could be 6 or 8 months before you guys are ready to put a wire in the ground. I mean, I don't think you want that. And I don't want the site, frankly, open all winter long with nobody taking care of the inevitable things that are going to need to be taken care of. I mean, it's water and gravity, man. They
Okay.
never stop. Just, all right, I'll shut up.
I'm going to allow Navasun to come up and make a statement. Please stand up and introduce yourself. I'm going to ask the board not to engage in a back and forth discussion at the moment.
Mhm.
I feel that if Navasun would like to have a back and forth discussion, we need to have a proper public hearing. I feel that neighbors and abutters need to be notified and have the opportunity to be here as well, and tonight they are not. I do not know who's going to speak, but we do not have town council here, and I do not expect to hear from council on your end. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the moment here to speak. My name is Stephen Campbell. I'm the Chief Operations Officer at Navasun. I've been doing solar for 10 years. I'm a civil engineer at PE in the state of Massachusetts. Been doing this for 30 years with construction. I agree with you, sir. It's our site to control. We bought this site from Con Ed back in May of this year. Some of these discrepancies and things, we have not known these. We went and we built what we thought we were built with. There have been some inaccuracies mentioned throughout all of this process since the 8th of December. Yesterday, I wrote a long email to the town that went to various town members, went to Jamie Kelly, went to the Board of Selectmen, outlining the entire process from December 8th through till yesterday.
We all got a copy of that, and we all
Okay.
had the opportunity to read
I
that.
appreciate that. One thing that we don't want anybody to think about in this town is that we're not responsive. We have been responsive since December 9th. December 9th, we were on site. We understood there was a problem. We've tried to remedy the situation up to that week. We went to the Conservation Commission hearing on the 14th, talked to the Conservation Commission. I stood here in this room on the 14th and said we would do what we could to try to rectify the situation. We reconfigured the basin on the 15th. We were ready for the 16th storm, what we thought, and we got overwhelmed overnight. We immediately were on site at 5:30 the next morning, our site super looking at this. The reason we delayed a little bit on the well is we wanted to understand if we were in fact the culprit of that well being contaminated. And after the 16th into the 17th, when we did discharge sediment, we jumped all over this. We got the well installed in 2 days. They now have drinking water there. One thing I want to make clear is since December 9th, or just early in the week of that previous week, we've asked the town 4 times to get a meeting with all the boards together, understanding that there was some coordination that had to happen across all the boards, and we have yet to be responded to by anybody in the town. No one has reached out to us and say, hey, come, let's talk. We're open to talking. We're open to figure out how do we fix this. We've moved a lot of dirt over the past 2 days to make sure that we're ready for tonight, because we're committed to making sure that this is correct. And we're committed to making sure that everybody understands what is correct. There are factual misstatements that are being made. We are building exactly what Weston and Sampson says. Weston and Sampson is here tonight. They could tell you that we're building exactly what they're saying. We're inspecting the stormwater every week, every time after a storm. I can provide all of that documentation. So I guarantee you we are taking this seriously, and we want to work with the town to rectify this. It is not illegal to discharge stormwater off-site. We thought we were building a plan, and to a plan that was approved by this town. The stormwater got away from us on that date during construction. We have responded. We have now been put under order to keep stormwater on the site, which we are doing. The reason that we've been asking Mr. Hannon for approval to do things is because it was stated in the in the enforcement order under the Conservation Commission that we had to ask for proper approval before we did anything. We've submitted things multiple times, and we've been told that, and we have not received any approvals to do anything. So we went out and we started to act because we had to. We want to control the stormwater in the site. I agree with you. It's our responsibility, and we're taking our responsibility very seriously. And I want this board to understand that. And we're here tonight to tell you that we're taking it seriously. And we're going to do everything we can. We're going to have guys on site tomorrow morning making sure this is okay. We had that, the family now has drinking water. Took us 2 days after we said we were going to do it. We reached out to the town to try to coordinate dropping off the bottled water. In the interim, no one responded. So we've tried numerous times to reach out to board members and members of this town and have gotten no response. And we're trying to fix what we have here, and I want you to know that tonight. And so I thank you for letting me speak, and we're willing to work with the commission, and we're willing to work with the town, like we've said numerous times before in the last 2 weeks, to rectify this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you've heard everything that we have on our side. You've heard what Pat Hannon had to say. You've heard from the proponent. Do we have a motion? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. I do believe that they are making every effort to correct, or at least control, the ongoing stormwater, which is going to become ongoing. I'm concerned about the cutout I saw, but I understand they're trying to control it, so I give them credit for that. But I think the prudent thing to do as a board is to, and I'd like to make a motion that we send a memo to the building inspector to issue a cease and desist of all construction activity relative to the construction of utilities, foundations, any panels, whatnot, anything to do with the building permit until such time as they have gone through stormwater conservation and then us, so we can get everything clearly acceptable, and we all know what we're approving, or what has been approved, or what will be approved, and what will be built. And to support my motion says that I believe that they're in violation of special permit conditions 16, 17, you got it right, 16, 17, 18, and possibly 21. That's my motion.
You've heard the motion?
As long as it is a request to the building inspector that he review those particular items on the original special permit and determine whether or not they have been complied with, or whether or not the matter of the issuance of the, or I should say, he needs to review those items and determine if there's an issue that requires the proponent to come back to the board, the planning board, for a revision to the original special permit.
I agree.
Just because, like it or not, I'm glad I'm not a building inspector, but, that's where the direction has to come from. And certainly, the part of the motion dealing with no wires, no cables, no conduits, no foundations, no panels, I think that goes without saying that none of that should be allowed to happen or go forward until the erosion situation is fully controlled. And at this point, the only way to, and not just a proposal to do it, that's Navason's responsibility to control it. And they need to do whatever they and their contractor needs to do so that it doesn't affect the downstream properties. And I, over the next several months, leading up till the springtime, there will be numerous opportunities to see whether the erosion control and stormwater pond measures that they put in place are working.
That's a big motion, but we get the point.
Well, I think a motion to refer
Refer
the
to,
matter to the building inspector for review of, and I don't remember the numbers
Yeah.
on all the special permits, conditions, and make a determination whether he feels they've been violated or not. And we would be glad as a board to,
Well,
reconsider whatever we need to reconsider.
I mean, ultimately, it's his call whether he wants to do the cease and desist. But I think I'm full within my right as a planning board member to make a determination that they did violate 16, 17, 18, and 21. It's clear as day. So I don't need him to decide for me. I'm saying, my motion is to tell him, in our opinion, there's a violation of several special permits and he should cease desist until the matter is, taken.
No problem. I mean,
You
but
make it
it's
simpler.
got to be us telling him that, we feel that there are problems with those items in the original special permit, but he needs to review them and he needs to agree that they're problems, because he's the one with the authority
ultimately.
to
Yes.
stop things.
Yes.
That's all.
I agree.
Agreed.
So, I mean, certainly we can tell him that we think they're in violation, but ultimately it's his call as to whether the violation has occurred.
I agree. Ultimately, it's his call.
And
He can just ignore it.
from my own personal perspective,
he will.
the site's opened up. It's going to be a nuisance for the next 6 months, and it's going to require continuous, diligent effort to keep things under control. I would rather see that happen than police showing up telling the contractors they've got to leave the site. That's a
No,
very,
we don't only want.
yeah, I don't
No,
know.
we don't want to go
want
there.
him
No.
We don't want to go there.
Handle that as much as they can.
By the sounds of it, they sound genuine. They say they're going to take care of it. Tomorrow we'll tell. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
I'd like to probably take a roll call on that.
Steve Boucher, yes?
Dave Vivian, yes.
Brian Dishamps, yes.
Rick Ellis, yes?
Mark Francois, yes. Okay.
All right.
Gentlemen, I would suggest dealing with Pat, dealing with getting the stormwater situation resolved. If there are questions that you have regarding this meeting tonight, you can request a town meeting, a meeting, and notify the abutters, and then we can have a back and forth. And you can answer questions and we can go back and forth. But in my opinion, before that even gets there, I think the bigger issue is with stormwater. And like Rick said, it's just the beginning. Yeah, I see Pat. I think it's just the beginning of the weather situations. But
Oh, it's great. Yeah, I guarantee you, it's going to be a nuisance for the next 6 months.
Pat, I saw you flaring your hand there. What do you got?
Just want to make sure there was a discussion about the cutout in the berm. That's not okay. I don't want them leaving thinking that you guys, well, I know why you did it, but saying that got approved. That cutout should not be in the berm. That's, untreated stormwater going off into the woods.
Okay,
So
it's,
I'm not okay with it.
okay, that's noted.
Yes.
1 second.
One second. The cutout was filled this afternoon. It's filled.
Okay, good.
Again, we're not the people who you want to make day-to-day decisions for your construction operation. You will be building this project 5 years out from now. You need to take care of Pat's concerns, and you need to not dump streams of water and streams of sediments on any of the neighboring properties.
Pat, I don't know if you heard, but
Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Campbell stood up and said that hole in the berm was filled today.
That's great news. Yep,
Okay.
thank you.
Pat, are you working tomorrow?
No, we're on.
Okay.
I'm actually off until Tuesday.
Oh, don't worry, a few of us are gonna go over there and check it out.
We'll go there
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I've spoken to the property owner a few times, and, you know, he just can't imagine what's gonna happen. They're all, you know, waiting to see, so. I just want another text at 1 in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we've had our discussion, we've had a motion, it is passed. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.